Tonight, we're not just telling a story, we're dissecting a soul. We're stepping into the gilded cage of modern London, a place where ambition has a body count, and where the deadliest predator can be the person you're trying so hard to become.
I mean, really think about that for a second. The version of you at work, with your friends, with your family, the face you put on for the world. How much of that is actually you? And what happens when the performance takes over completely?
You know, it's easy to think that, right? But this story isn't a simple morality play. It's more like a mirror, and what it reflects back at us about our own quiet desires for status, for acceptance, for just a different life. Well, that's deeply unsettling.
This is all about a young man named Zac Brettler. He decided one day to just rewrite his own life. The setting is London, a city that was reinventing itself as a playground for global megawealth. But the real stage for this tragedy was inside his own head.
So, what pushes a person to completely erase themselves? You know, it never starts with some giant leap. It starts small. It starts with a crack in their foundation. For Zac, the catalyst wasn't just one thing. It was a series of fractures that created an opening for a totally new identity to take root.
Just look at this split. On one side, you have the boy he was, funny, charming, from a really loving family with deep moral roots. And on the other, the man he wanted to be, defined by Porsches, by power, by the almost mythical wealth of London's new elite. This is the war that started inside him. And so that war began. First, there's this deep wound of rejection. He's not good enough for his brother's school. Then comes the seduction. He's thrown into a world where money just screams, and for a teenager, that's intoxicating. And this combination, it creates the crucial moment, the reset. He realizes he can just hit delete on his old story and write a brand new one.
And you gotta understand, this wasn't about telling small fibs. This was architecture. He was literally constructing an entirely new reality, with himself as a star. But a bridge built on lies is fragile, and the world he was trying to cross into was so much more dangerous than he could ever have imagined.
So let's look at the conflict. Because a performance this huge, it requires constant maintenance. It's absolutely exhausting. And the audience he chose, well, they were not the forgiving type. He told this to classmates at his new school. It's a simple, shocking fabrication, right? Designed to create instant intimacy, instant sympathy. It was a test run for his new editorial control. And then the lies escalate. He doesn't just admire the world of the super rich, he claims to live in it. He picks one of London's most exclusive addresses as his pretend home, a place so anonymous, so secure, nobody could ever check. And right here, this is where the performance becomes something else entirely. A simple scar from a removed mole gets transformed into a war wound. See, he's no longer just pretending to be rich, he's pretending to be dangerous. And that was a fatal miscalculation. And this is the moment everything changes. Because the dark irony is, Zac wasn't the only one faking it. He had stumbled into a hall of mirrors. You have Akbar Shamji, this jet-setter who was actually bankrupt. And then there's Verinder Sharma, a violent gangster pretending to be a father figure. Zac thought he was the con artist, but really, he was just an amateur in a league of predators. Wow, this quote from his mother, it just cuts right to the absolute heart of the tragedy. She sees it. She sees her son has become a stranger, a character in a play, and she understands the cold, hard reality. In this new world he's in, he's not loved. He's a mark.
An edifice of lies, it can't stand forever. And when this one came down, the collapse was not quiet. It was violent. The cost of Zac's new identity was absolute.
This is a text message from Akbar Shamji to a friend. The performance is over. The predators have finally realized their mark has no money. The curtain is about to come down hard. This detail, recovered from police evidence, it just reveals the terrifying reality Zac was facing. This wasn't a game of make-believe anymore. The violence he'd pretended to be a part of was now very, very real, and it was closing in on him. 19. That's how old Zac Brettler was when his body was pulled from the River Thames, directly across from the headquarters of MI6. The end of a very short life and a devastating performance. So, what do we take away from all this? The horror of Zac's final moments? It actually leads us to a more universal and maybe even more chilling truth about who our loved ones, and even we ourselves, truly are. Just think of his parents' agony. After Zac's death, they had to confront this horrifying idea that the son they raised was living a secret life they knew nothing about. They had to get to know their own child after he was already gone.
And this is the warning, buried in the tragedy. When your entire sense of self depends on a performance for other people, you give them the power to destroy you. You stop being a person. You just become a reflection, and reflections can be shattered. And that leaves us with this final, haunting question. After he had erased the boy from Mattavale, and the oligarch's son was exposed as a complete fraud, what was actually left of Zac Brettler? When the performance is everything, what happens when the show is over?